Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Alisha, and today I'm going to show you a few things that I do in the morning. First thing in the day to get my body going, to get my breath going. And as we move through our practice today, please just know that all the breath work and all the movement that we do is optional. I'm going to trust you to take care of yourself, do what makes sense to you, and rest when you need to. Okay? So to begin, we're going to find a kneeling or seated position on the mat. You could also rest on your back or sit against a wall if that's more easeful, comfortable for you. If you have blocks around, one thing I really like to do to begin is just to place that block between my heels, sit up on it, find length in the spine. Got the tops of my feet on the floor at the moment. You could tuck the toes and kneel from that position, and of course that is a stronger foot stretch. In any case, finding a kneeling or seated or reclining position, good. Sitting up a little taller or just lengthening your spine wherever you are. Good. Beginning by taking a breath. Full inhale through your nose, and a long exhale from your nose or your mouth. Good, breathing in, dropping the chin a little bit, opening the throat wide. And then breathing out, letting the shoulders drop, letting the hands relax, letting the feet relax. Good, just one more time, breath in. And a breath out. Good. Let's move slowly. Moving the block out from underneath you if it was there. We're going to move into a kneeling position on our hands and knees. So placing the hands on the mat or on your non-slip surface, spreading the fingers wide. You can look under your body, see that the knees are at least as wide as your hips, if not a little wider for some of us. And let's just hold this strong shape for a moment. So arms are long. Don't need to lock the elbows here. You could even keep a little micro bend. Good. Neck is long. Letting the feet relax behind you. Let's take a breath. And let's exhale all the air out. Good. Full inhale here. And then on your out breath, sending your hips to your heels. Good. Bringing the arms parallel, side by side. Fingertips pointed toward the top of your mat. We're going to rest here in a child's pose for just a moment. If you wanted to make this a more active child's pose, you could tent your fingertips, continuing to drop your chest toward the mat, and just noticing any amount of stretch underneath your arms. Good. Even across your chest a little bit. So we're going to move out of our child's pose. Good. Back into our kneeling position for just a moment, taking a full breath. And then exhale, go ahead. Walk your hands back into a tabletop position. All right, so getting a little stronger now. Placing your hands on your mat. Whoop. Stepping the feet back. Finding a plank pose. So keep in mind, we can modify this shape and all the other ones we do today. You can drop the knees here, keeping the toes tucked behind you, or resting tops of the feet on the mat. Good. And in your plank pose, if you have the knees lifted, again, let's not lock the elbows here. Yes, it's a little more challenging, but you can build that heat and strength if that's appropriate for us today. Okay, taking a breath here. Just going to lift the hips, finding a downward facing dog. Good. Holding this pose for just a moment. Good. Little bend in the knees could work here. Just noticing. Good. We're going to take a full breath in this pose. Let's float ourselves back to a plank pose. Sometimes I'll find some little shifts forward and back, side to side, keeping in mind the wellness of the wrists, right? One thing we can do is press into the first finger and thumb, take a little pressure off. Just one more breath here. And then exhaling, come back to your downward facing dog. Dropping the knees slowly, untucking the toes. Let's find our child's pose again. So go ahead and take about 2 or 3 more breaths in child's pose. I didn't mention this before, but keep in mind you can also have a blanket on your mat. I actually have 2 around here somewhere. A little extra padding never hurts. So after your 3rd breath in your child's pose, we'll come back to a tabletop position. Good. Back to downward facing dog. And this time, lifting the left leg up behind us for a 3-legged dog. So I've got my inner upper arms framing my ears, left toes pointed down, left heel pointed up. Good. And then all I want to do here is move slowly, bending the left knee, stepping the left foot to the space between the hands, top of the mat. So we've got this lunge, strong right leg, left toes pointed forward, keeping the back of the neck open. So maybe just a little tuck of the chin, full inhale. And exhale. Good. Just planting the hands, stepping the feet back. And this time, downward facing dog with just a little movement. We'll work this in gradually, just a little more fluidity and space. Good. 3-legged dog. Lifting your other leg, whichever side you haven't done yet. I've got my right leg lifted. Good. Thinking about the back of my right knee facing straight up. Good. Whenever you're ready, bending the knee, stepping the right foot to the top of your mat. So let's hold this shape for a moment. I'm going to show you how useful and supportive our blocks can be here. If you have a couple of blocks, we could bring them to the maximum height that's possible here. Good, just making them an extension of your arms. Good, and then you might notice if you're using blocks, you have that much more space for your belly and chest to expand in your breath. Good. At some point when the sides feel a little more balanced, and that could mean that one side takes a little more time than the other, we're going to step it back, downward facing dog, and then go ahead and find your child's pose. This time, just gonna make a little pillow with the arms, turning the face to one side, then taking a full breath in, and a full breath out. Good, slowly switching sides, full breath in, and a full breath out. Good. All right, folks, back to our tabletop position, and then back to a plank pose, modified with the knees resting on the mat or knees away from the mat. Good. If you wanted a little extra here, sometimes it's fun to play with lifting and lowering the legs behind you. You could take little steps, just noticing the little muscles working. Good, one more breath. And downward facing dog. Now knowing that all these plank poses are optional, it can be such a strong thing to do first thing in the day, but it's not necessary. Okay, lifting the left leg up. If you wanted to find a little more movement in space here, good. You certainly could. Let's keep it small at the moment. And then we'll just step the left foot to the top. Got some blocks. Good, and this time, we're gonna make this a spinal twist. So with the left leg forward, left knee bent, right leg strong and active behind you, just turning, resting the left hand above your left knee. Good, keeping the strong right arm, so that arm is active, not collapsing the shoulder, not collapsing the right elbow. Good. Keeping the right leg online, so to speak. It's still active, it's still involved. And then you're welcome to fly that left arm straight up toward the ceiling. Good. Dropping the left shoulder down your spine. Good, let's take another breath. And then Floating the left hand down. Blocks go to the side. We'll find our downward facing dog or child's pose. One of those two things. Just taking a couple of breaths. Always welcoming any spontaneous movement, any shifting back and forth of the hips or moving forward between down dog and plank. Right? Good, let's check out the other side. So just finding that space, some small circles in the hips, some bending and straightening of the right leg. We've got options. Good. Step the right foot to the space between the hands. Holding this, lunge for just a moment. Good, long enough to take stock of the body. Good. Let's move into our spinal twist, taking it slow. Sometimes I like to bend and straighten front leg a little bit just to bring a little more blood into the area, right? So this is fine. You could stay here in this spinal twist. Good, making sure not to sink into the left shoulder, and then you could also elevate the right arm. Up to you, whatever's gonna work today, whatever's gonna make you feel like you're in control of your own body. Okay? Again, welcoming spontaneous movement. Let's take a breath. And then, good. Floating both hands down. Option to step into a plank pose. And then finding a child's pose again. Deep breaths into the belly. Good. Full breaths into the back of your body. Breathing in. And breathing out. Good. We're just going to do one more round of lunges. One reason we're doing these is to stretch out the hips and the low back, right? When I wake up in the morning, those are the things that are the tightest for me. So this is very helpful in my body anyway. Good. We're going to meet in our downward facing dog. Heels could be high, heels could be low. Good. This time, lifting your left leg. Finding a little bit of a hip stretch or a lot of a hip stretch. One thing I do is bring the right hand back if my left leg is lifted, and then really play with it as much as you want to. It doesn't have to be super bendy. You can find a little rotation here. At some point, bringing the left foot forward. Beautiful. This time, let's drop our right knee any amount of stretch in the right hip here. So if it's feeling really intense, just shorten your stance, bring your blocks in a little bit. If you'd like a little more, that's when you can bring the left foot forward. Good, and deepen the lunge. So here we go. We're just going to breathe here. Good, allowing the body and the mind to settle a little bit with every held pose. Beautiful, take a full breath. And a breath out. Great, we're going to drop our blocks a little bit lower. And extending your left leg out in front. Okay, just for a moment. Maybe you find it's a good stretch for the back of your neck to tuck your chin a little bit. Good. Back into our lunge, tucking the right toes, straightening the right leg, hands to the mat. Step it back, downward facing dog. Good, let's play with some hip opening on our other side. Good. Again, do what makes sense. Do what works. Eventually, good. We're going to find a little chill out space. Good. Of course, we have options here. it feels like it's time to move on, tucking the left toes. Good, blocks to the side. Let's find a plank pose. Knees on or off the mat. Good, taking a full breath. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. We're going to drop the knees. We're going to come back into our kneeling position. Grabbing some blocks if you have them. I'm going to really strongly recommend a blanket under the knees for this next thing we do. So, let's see here. Let's start with the knees apart. Bringing the blocks outside of your hips and then slightly behind them. And then making sure that the blocks feel stable. That is assuming you're using them. If you're not, you could bring your hands to the mat behind you. All we're going to do here is lift the hips. Any amount. It could be that the seat is still at your heels. Good. It could be that your heels are just brushing your seat. Good. If we've got blocks, we have a little more height available to us, a little more back bend. If this back bending is not going to work for you today, then you could take it easy. You could think about just opening the front of the body as opposed to finding a strong curve in the low back. Good. If you wanted to make this harder for yourself, and some of us do, knees together. Good. Blocks or hands at about the same place, and then with the knees together, lifting the legs forward, pressing the hips forward. Good. Different stretch from the knee to the hip, right? Okay. All optional. At some point, let's just find a seat. Good. Take a full breath. And breath out. Good. I'm going to send my legs straight ahead of me for staff pose. Good. You could still be sitting up on a blanket or even two. Okay, so after a few breaths in your staff pose, we're going to move into an easy forward fold. We'll stay seated, softly bending the knees, bringing the feet toward the body a little bit, sitting up tall, finding a long spine, dropping the shoulders down the back, and then you can lead with the center of the chest, keeping the back flat here, and then at some point rounding forward, folding forward, letting the head drop, opening up the back body, especially the area around the shoulder blades, between the shoulder blades and the spine. Spend as much time here as you like. You could do it more than once, coming back to your tall spine, extending both legs for staff pose again. Good. If you wanted to make this staff pose even stronger, option to bring the arms up, keeping the shoulders low. Good, full breath. And either folding forward with the legs straight, or we could again find our more easeful forward fold. Good. If you have the legs straight, keeping the toes spread wide, not forcing this, but it is okay to keep the knees softly bent, always, right? Beautiful, take a breath. And then let's make our way down onto the back. Good. Opening up, 5-pointed star. Just making a big X shape on the floor. So legs are wide, arms are wide. Good. Breathing here, take it easy, let the hands relax, let the feet fall open. Good. If you'd like a little more stretch in your shoulders and underarms, you could bring the hands together overhead, or you could find cactus arms with the elbows bent at 90 degrees. Good, and at some point, we're just going to move slowly, walking the feet in, knees bent, and you can just drop the knees side to side. Good. Nothing too serious. And we'll move from here into hugging the knees in toward the chest. You can see I'm dropping the knees side to side, little rocking side to side. Good. So you could keep resting here on the floor. You could do any other stretches you need. You could take a nap. You could go have a snack. But whatever we do, let's make sure we drink a little water after the practice. Let's make sure that we carry this ease with us through the day if possible. And let's make sure to let our loved ones know that we love them. Okay, thank you very much all. Take care and see you next time.